Hey there, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Halloweekly. Nick and George here with another segment of How Low Can We Go with 42 and 41%. We're going to do
double it up.
Another double whammy. So 42% we're going to be doing Lucio Fulci. I'll put the sound effect in so they know why we have to say it like that. Lucio Fulci.
Yes.
Lucio Fulci.
And then Wrong Turn.
Yes.
2003.
So we're doing Zombie 2 and Wrong Turn. And these movies ended up being a really interesting pairing. I'm glad we picked the ones we did.
Yeah.
Because when I think about them, like, with each other, like, there's some interesting, like, parallels.
Yeah. Especially, like, monsters and all that kind of...
Yeah, the monsters and also, like, kind of the fact that there's one movie where I'm gonna argue that, like, the music was really good and one where it's not. Mm-hmm. And then you can really notice the difference when you go from watching one movie where the music got you into the world and you go to another movie where it doesn't. And you're like, oh, damn, I missed that.
But to be fair, one film has lesser zombie effect or lesser effects. The other one has Stan Winston.
Yes.
So it's like a crisscross of
exactly.
like, you know.
Although the effects in Zombie 2, the zombie effects, I think they have kind of like a charm of their own.
Yeah.
For what they are, but compared to Stan Winston, right?
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into Zombie 2, the unofficial Italian sequel to George Romero's Dawn of the Dead.
Tell people the story for the
also known as what was the other
Zombie Flesh Eaters.
Zombie Flesh Eaters. Then the other one here was Zombie 2, The Dead Are Among Us. It has many titles. So I was wondering because the poster for Zombie 2 is pretty like well known. Like anytime there's like a horror film and there's like a character who likes horror films in the film, they usually have like that Zombie 2 poster up.
Totally.
It's a pretty iconic poster, I think. But like, and I was thinking about today. I was like, "There's not like a Zombie 1," and I was like, "I have to like."
Oh, but there is.
So I was like, I googled it. I was like, because like I remember seeing Zombie 2 and like Bravo's horror movie countdown for the eyeball wood scene, and it just never occurred to me to like figure out why the fuck is it called Zombie 2.
Right.
And Italian law at the time, it might have changed. They would just let you make pretty much unofficial sequels to any type of film.
Sure.
So this film is to the filmmakers, to Lucio Fulci, a sequel to Dawn of the Dead.
Night of the Living Dead, right?
I thought it was Dawn of the Dead.
Maybe it is Dawn.
Because this was 79 and Dawn of the Dead was a few years
there you
before
go.
that.
Then it's Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. Because it also had them in like New York City.
Oh,
or like in Vegas.
Right.
But there was also, I forget where I read somewhere in there, Dario Argento had some say either with this or with his band was Goblins, right? That did Dawn of the Dead. I think he had some sort of intertwining with this somewhere on the line.
I'm sure he did.
I believe so. The link is up. You just Google it, you'll see all the shit.
Right.
So, anyways, that's the story behind Zombie 2, which I thought was incredibly strange and weird.
Yes,
but kind of cool at the same time.
I mean, how ballsy is that? You just make a sequel to. Like, why not?
And and I looked it up. When you Google it, it says the budget for it was 412 million Italian, some kind of Italian currency that was stopped in like before whenever they joined the pound. And I was like, how much is it? Like 410 million anything sounds like a lot. I think if the the converter I saw was right, it's like $250,000. So,
yeah, and I think it's made more than $1 billion.
They said They said this movie did extremely well, given the budget that they were handed.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like their Blair Witch Project, if the numbers I was reading were...
Yeah, everything that I read said this film made money, like, just out there.
Yeah, why not? It's such a good sequel.
It's such a great non-sequel sequel. It's really good.
Well, let's jump into the movie itself, because one of the things I really like about this movie was how it opened, because one of my favorite parts of the whole Dracula myth is when the ghost ship arrives. There's always like the ghost ship, and Dracula's killed everyone on board, and the ship just pulls up to London or wherever, and everyone's dead. And this movie starts with that fucking ship. Like a ship is just floating in the harbor aimlessly, and then they got to investigate it, right? And the fact that there were these really cool shots of the ship, and it was kind of jarring because the answer everyone gives to what's a good daylight horror movie, that question, is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? This movie is a beach movie
Yeah.
for most of it, right?
Which also makes the two pairings really convenient, because that was one of my notes for
no shit.
Wrong Turn. We'll get to later.
That's it's awesome.
But no, you're absolutely right. It's a beach film.
Right. I mean, it was so bright. Like
Yeah.
when I was watching it, I was like, I had pulled the movie up and I walked away, grabbed a coffee. I came back and I was like, did I change the channel accidentally? Why am I looking at like a commercial for yachts or
Yeah.
you know, whatever? And because it's just really, really sunlit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when they unleash that first zombie on the cops,
That was one of my first notes. Was I really liked the a lot of like the set design was actually like for that boat. Like the first thing I wrote down was I really like how nasty that boat is, because it was fucking
it
disgusting.
totally was.
It was super disgusting. And the first zombie was pretty okay looking.
Yeah, decent.
Yeah, like some of the zombies are really hit or miss with the film, like in terms
Yep.
of like makeup and stuff. The first one was just kind of mediocre, but it
Yeah, a
opened
lot
up.
of these zombies look like someone was trying to build a zombie out of fast food.
Yeah.
Right, which kind of weirded me out. When it worked, it was amazing, but when it didn't work, it was a little whatever.
But that sort of adds to that whole like charm you were talking about with some of the effects, like when later on in the film when the woman gets bit in the neck, like they obviously did not have the right makeup to match her skin tone, and it's just a little jarring. And I felt that same way with that first zombie.
Sure.
But I do like the fact that they, for it being like an unofficial sequel, just to like come out. I love the fact that they're like, we're just gonna fucking do this in New York. Like they just went like they just went right fucking for it.
They totally did, and it was. I mean, it was the first shot is like framed with the Trade Center towers.
Yeah.
Right? But there are some beautiful shots that come after where you're looking at skyline and you're looking, and that's the interesting part is it kind of goes back and forth between. The whole movie kind of goes back and forth between spaces that are really dirty and uncomfortable, like the hold of this yacht.
Yeah.
And then really like beautiful natural shots. Mm-hmm. There's a shot later in the movie when they're trying to get to their final destination in their car, and there's this shot across like just this amazing row of palm trees and like whatever. It looked like it was like a painting. It's gorgeous. So,
yeah.
But then the next scene, you're in like gross, dirty, like
a lot of back and forth between the two. Yeah, that was really good. And the other thing I said was also the boat floating. Is it what was it what do you call that? Is it the New Hudson River, or whatever?
I think so.
Whatever river that is.
Sure.
Like the shots of the boat just floating there with the city in the background.
Yep.
That looked really cool.
It did.
And it was weird. It was funny how the set goes from like really pretty to really dirty. I feel like the cinematography does the same thing.
Yeah,
like there's like
totally.
a lot of like really pretty, really cool shots. But then there's like the like kind of like soap opera shots that they had throughout the film.
Well, speaking of soap opera, because that's where the film takes us next, is to my least favorite part.
Yeah.
Which felt like an hour long, right? Because after the boat, the character finds out that her father's missing.
Real quick, I just want to say that just to give an example of great cinematography. In the boat, before we leave the boat, I said the cinematography is very strange because some of the shots were just really kind of weird. I didn't like, but when the daughter is talking to the police people, it had a very Silence of the Lambs shot to it because they were like looking directly into the lens, and it would go to the girl looking at the lens, go to the police, go to the other guy, and it would do like some of these cool POV shots where like when she looks left to right, the camera would go left to right.
That's right.
And I was like, damn, that's like kind of, they got some really cool shit sprinkled into this film. As much as like,
that's, it's funny you say that because I like this director a lot, and I had found a quote that I really admire about him where he said, "I'm a minor 20th century director who tries to do his job honestly by working within a very difficult genre where it's very easy to fall into the ridiculous."
Yeah.
Like he literally thought of himself as a craftsman. Like he was just building something that would entertain you, or in the case of horror, scare you. And he didn't have, like, he was focused on the details and doing the job right and bringing actual frights within the constraints of the budget or whatever. So it was weird because you could tell there were points where they just didn't have the money or didn't have the whatever, or they were just trying to make things happen. And there were these little lapses, but when there weren't, it was like really solid. So it's a really schizophrenic movie.
Yeah. And
because the worst part of the movie that's the sloppiest is what comes after the boat.
Yeah. Oh, it's just so boring. And that's where, because we were talking a little bit about before we recorded, was the music in the film, which you gave me 2 examples of music, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. But the reason you didn't know that there were shit films is because you just toned out during the thing, which I don't blame you, because I watched it sped up, so I just sat through the shit.
Right.
The music during the worst part of the film, which is like, it's like 30 minutes or 40 minutes of soap opera stuff, it feels like. It is the most repetitive fucking music in the world. It's and I said it sounds exactly like Disney's Jungle Cruise. It's like a bum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum, but it's just fucking looping. And I listened to it sped up, and I was like, man, how many beats per minute is this? Because it was just percussion over and over and over, and it just didn't stop. And then I think that lasted all the way up until the daughter and the investigator, is he an investigator? Go onto the boat with the other couple, and then the music sucks even more until the lady goes in the water. But the music, I swear to God, it had some of those pretty boat shots, which is okay. But the music was trying to be this like fantastical kind of like, they're on a yacht, this is so pretty. And I swear to God, this was before Aladdin. The first like 6 or 7 notes was fucking I Can Show You the World. Like they were in the boat and it was like da 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 da, but it was like to like a tropical thing, and that's all I could fucking hear was Aladdin like over and over again.
I am so glad I tuned that out.
So you didn't miss a whole lot, and it was just a bunch of like the cat, like there's not a lot of deep character in the film, which I don't think you're like really going for in Zombie 2.
Well, the weird thing is I think they were trying to a little bit, especially with the main doctor. Who looked sad even when he was trying to look happy. So he was like practicing his tragic face earlier in the movie.
The whole time.
Before he showed like whatever. But I don't think they really pulled it off, right?
No,
they're just moving the people around like chess.
And that's what most of that middle Italian soap opera part is.
Yeah, that I'm totally blank on. I don't remember that. And before we move past this, I fucking love the music in this movie, but I only remember the good music. So.
Yeah.
But the way it opens and then the music that happens after the zombie shark battle on, I feel like that music is super creepy. And what I know is like
the movie gets better towards the end.
If they were telling me that they were going to play that music at the Hollywood Bowl on like October 29th, I would buy tickets.
I did see on the Wikipedia they toured and played the music.
Shit. Yeah, because Fabio Frizzi is his name, and I just thought that like the main theme of this is really, really interesting, and the there's like a bounciness to it.
Yeah.
That is kind of like sinister beach music, and then it gets really synthy and darker. But it was really the combination of the effective scenes, like the eyeball scene that we're about to get to, and the music was really authentically creeping me out. I mean, I was watching this around midnight, but like I just think the movie is the music's a really strong plus.
And it just like I said, you can even probably cut out the first half of the film and just watch the last half, and it's still a pretty damn good zombie film.
Yep.
Let's see, where did I get to? Oh yeah, so my next note was I can't watch the couple. Oh yeah, so the couple that was fighting. Back to this real quick before we move on for the Italian opera.
Yes.
While the couple was fighting, no, it wasn't the couple. It was the doctor and is that his daughter?
Yes.
They're arguing and having this big thing while the fucking Disney Jungle Cruise music's playing in the background. And I was like, I just can't get invested to like dung 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 dung. Like I'm waiting for my sarcastic fucking boat cruise guy. And these people are like arguing. I thought that was and then it was right after that, my note was all of a sudden this becomes the Italian Jaws, which goes to where we wanted to go next.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, it's legendary, and it's right that it's legendary. Just the whole. So before so a zombie battles a shark.
Yep.
which is fucking amazing.
And
Like,
in Italian fashion, a naked woman.
yeah. Yeah, well, right. We're going to get to that in a second. But so the funny thing is, the premise of this series that we're doing is that we're trying to find movies that are underrated. They deserve a better score than they've got. And usually I have a whole set of notes where I'm trying to build like an argument for why the movie's better than its rating. Right?
Yeah.
I realized that I have literally, I have 5 words for 2 movies in this segment.
Yeah.
For my argument. Like the rest of it is just us talking because my argument for Wrong Turn is going to be Stan Winston, and my argument for this is Zombie Fights Shark.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be 50% or higher just because it has a fucking zombie fighting a shark in it. It's amazing. But before we get to that part, there is this totally weird, truly Italian, like scuba diving, naked scuba diving, and then the way it's shot is like it made me feel like that there's some subset of society that has like a naked scuba diving fetish. And this was fan servicing those people.
He was like, I know my crowd.
Because the way it was shot was super weird. Like we spent a lot of time with putting on equipment and like
It was a good while. And the couple's like watching her, like staring at her.
Well, the guy's watching her, and then the girl you think is watching her, but then the girl turns to the guy, and the guy's like, yeah, I'm watching her. Like,
yeah, like they're not a couple. He's like, you're not my fucking wife. I was waiting for like her husband to just turn around and go, y'all want to fuck my wife? If they had said that, it would have all made sense.
But see, one of the things I really like about gritty horror movies that are better than maybe they have the right to be based on the execution is if a horror movie can really knock you off the balance with something weird, if it does it in the right order, it can hit you with a scare next.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, for example, if you're in a house watching a horror movie and then the electricity goes out and flickers and dies, and then it comes back on and it does it again and you can't figure out what's going on and you're looking around and no one else, it's not happening to any other houses in your neighborhood, on your street. And then it comes on and you're like, that was weird. And then you watch and the next scary moment is probably going to be scarier than if you had just watched it. Because it primed you, right? So like a movie can prime you. And the whole scuba diving scene was so fucking weird. I was so like, what the hell am I watching? That when the next scene happened, I was like, whoa!
Yeah.
Because it primed me with just like fucking balls to the wall weirdness.
Yeah.
Like that scene probably shouldn't be in there. Like, but
if you cut it, the film doesn't get
But
it.
it was so fucking strange. It kind of worked.
Yeah.
So then the go ahead, because I know the lady gets attacked by a zombie walking around on the bottom of the water.
Well, she gets spooked by a goddamn shark. Then she gets attacked by a zombie underwater.
Yes.
And which is
just hanging out underwater.
Yeah. And she's able to like somehow fight off and escape both of these threats, which makes no goddamn sense as to why she died in the end.
Dude, she's been naked scuba diving for years. She's such a good swimmer.
Here's the thing. She should be bomb.com at moving around the land. But that's zombie just fucking...
Oh, yeah.
So I just don't understand her death at all. Yeah, so then all of a sudden it becomes like zombie Jaws a little bit, just because there's a shark. Once you throw in a shark, everything becomes Jaws. That's just
that's true. But here's what I know. I was watching it, and when it was over, I was like, that 2-minute sequence is better than the entire Sharknado franchise.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed watching, because he's basically snacking. This zombie's like headed somewhere underwater, walking.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to breathe, right? So he's just walking to somewhere. Who knows where he's trying to go? Domino's Pizza. He's headed, but he needs to eat on the way. So he's just like grabbing whatever he can get, and he's just got a little chunk of shark meat, and he moved on. The shark, the most fearsome predator in nature, is basically like this guy's Lunchable.
That is kind of a cool way to...
Which was weird.
To flip it. And then right after that goes to the scene that Bravo had on their countdown years and years ago, which was the eye scene. Which, that kind of shit, like, so you go from like this weird wave, how he's just filming this naked woman scuba diving, to some stupid Italian drama shit, and then all of a sudden you get to this fucking scene.
Classic.
Like, holy shit.
The way it was shot, it was so good.
Like, this scene, like, the movie's worth it for the shark attack. And this scene alone,
And the conquistador scene at the end. Yeah, totally.
oh, dude, that's so fucking good. I love that part. But this scene, the thing I noticed is there's so much music in this film. Good music and absolutely horrible music. But the majority of this scene is silent, which I
noticed
fucking
that too.
I loved how
That was perfect.
That was such a great choice just to make it her screaming.
I love everything about the scene. I love the way it was blocked. I love the fake. You think maybe she's safe now pacing. I loved what she was wearing. Like everything about the scene, because she was wearing really bright clothes, but it was shot really dark. So I mean, it was just so good. And then when the zombie breaks through the door and is pulling her to impale her eye on this wood, it keeps cutting to the actual POV of her headed towards the wood, and it's the most sinister piece of splintered wood I've ever seen.
It's like
in a movie. It looks like the fucking like Mount Rushmore of wood splinters the way he's shooting it. It's so.
It randomly
terrible.
reminded me the beginning of Lord of the Rings. Who's that big guy who's just like clubbing all the fucking soldiers? He has that big helmet on. It looked like it was Spike on his. I don't know why that's what I thought of. Fuck, it's the most random goddamn thing in the world, I know. But it reminded me of that because it had like a sinister, like, you know, like
Totally.
my whole purpose is to fuck your day up.
And I think before like one of the things that horror I think is losing a little bit in its modern step is, and I blame kind of like Final Destination sort of for this kind of thing, but people in horror a lot of times now, they just get annihilated, right? They just get beat to a pulp in a sleeping bag, or they get smashed by a falling piece of sheet glass, or they go up in flames in a plane. And one of the things I noticed about Fulci, not just in this movie but his other movies, is he likes to destroy specific body parts.
Yeah.
Because when this girl, when she gets pulled out of the frame by the zombie to get killed, you don't see the rest of what happens to her, or at least not yet.
Yeah.
You just see that she got impaled in the eye. He doesn't do the rest of the demolishing. He just targets like that one. I'm going to take out an eyeball in this scene. You know what I mean? And there's parts of the movie where people are getting grabbed or injured in very specific places, but nothing else is wrong with them. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really interesting that he's isolating on weak points or body parts. It's kind of like the way, like I imagine like a martial arts fighter would fight. Instead of just trying to destroy you with a whole bunch of body punches to wear you down over 10 rounds, he's going to hit you like 2-point finger shot in your neck and you're going to be paralyzed, you know? And he's like the karate master of like, I'm just going to really make you uncomfortable by doing this specific thing, which I think is cool. And I think horror, you know, needs more of.
They just want people to be thrown into a grinder.
Yeah, totally.
And that kind of shit. I do like the sort of the just focusing on one kind of fuck you. Because they did that similar towards when all the zombies are rising at the end. One of them grabs the guy's ankle.
Yep.
What I also liked, and they didn't make a big show of it, was for some reason, not all of them, but some of the zombies just had like inhuman strength, or superhuman strength.
They did.
So like it grabbed the guy's ankle, and all of a sudden he's just bleeding. I was like, shit, that's kind of it's kind of a scary thought. So that's probably one of the best scenes in the film, I think, and probably one of the best scenes in horror because it's so effective.
Yep.
The problem is, right after that scene, they cue up the fucking Jungle Cruise music, and it goes right back to it. And I was like, God damn it! Can we change it, please?
You should have written this. You should have watched this on mute.
I should have. It goes right to like one of the best scenes in horror, like dung 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 bump bump, and I'm like, oh no, stop.
Okay,
stop it. And then my other note was right after this, I felt bad for the guy who like the captain of like the little boat or whatever you call them, captains, right? I just noticed while watching it, he is so sunburnt during that scene.
He was. Oh my god, I noticed that too. Yeah, he was. Oh my god, that was so painful.
They had to shoot so much the day before or some shit like that because that next scene, all of a sudden his shoulders are just beat fucking red, and I'm like, man, he got fucked up on set.
Yeah, he was not acting like he was in pain. He was actually in pain.
And to me, that feels worse than what happens to him at the end of the film. I felt bad. That was real life.
Put him out of his misery.
Yeah, he actually got probably got real life sunburnt. And then, so then after that scene, it goes back to them because I think they had boat issues, right? Because the shark,
and then it moves to the more of the story of the doctor, and I actually thought that was creepy and really effective too. I think the movie really picks up speed after the shark moment. And one of the things I really liked about the Doctor, he was hamming it up a little with his his I'm Hamlet. What was?
But that was the soap opera
right.
feel to it.
But you know, there was this amazing shot towards the end, amazing shot where he's battling, like he's trying to make people better. He's trying to do the service of a doctor, and they're dying all around him, and he has to shoot them all in the head. So they're all wrapped in white sheets. You don't know who's who. You just see bodies. And then you just see that more and more of them have like this red chunk at the top where their head is, but the rest of the sheet is like white or a little bit blood spatter or whatever. And then the camera cranes back and he's just looking around his hospital.
Yeah.
And there's like these white sheeted, shot in the head bodies stacked like firewood everywhere. And he looks so demoralized. As a doctor, like you failed,
and he has no clue what's going on. And that I actually wrote that down. That was one of the scenes that I thought was actually pretty well done, which is why I think this movie probably deserved a better rating, because there for all the bad scenes that are kind of questionable, there's really well done scenes that were done on a fucking no budget, and that was one of them.
Totally.
Aside from
and real quick, we should mention that this is actually really interesting because. George Romero, God bless him, he took zombies away from their traditional direction, which was the voodoo Caribbean vibe. Yeah, and he put them in the dirty, shoot them in the head. The mysticism in the Romero movies is when hell's full, the dead will walk the earth. Yeah, it's not voodoo, but this movie took a step back.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And made it like the voodoo Caribbean thing again.
Which brings it back to an argument we had way back in the day. There's not a lot of voodoo movies,
right? Exactly. Which is and I thought it was really cool that it incorporated that element. I'm glad that the zombies moved away from that, because it would have gotten really corny and cheesy, but it was really refreshing to see something that reminded me of like White Zombie. Yeah. But done in a New York that I recognize. Yeah. Or at least partially, and it was cool. And I think that percussion-y music that you hate, I think that was.
It makes sense.
Right. It was part of it, but to me, it got really interesting once the zombies kind of like close in on the lab, which is out of order chronologically because we got to get to the conquistador scene. But but so good. It was really interesting that it was mixing all of these different cultures. You had clashes of things that I wasn't expecting in such a low budget looking movie.
Yeah. I love the whole voodoo side of it. Like it just anytime people do voodoo like that and they do it right, which I think this film did pretty well considering its budget and shit, like it just has a cool fucking vibe to it. So like that's why I loved the zombie rising at the end, like, which we'll get to. Oh, I fucking love that. But real quick, so right after the doctor scene, it cuts to this really cool shot of the zombie walking in the middle of the road, and the camera rotates around them, and then it goes right back to like cool fucking cinematography. I'm like, God damn, this movie likes to go back and forth.
That was a great scene.
So much. And then I think after that, that's when they walk into the zombies eating the one girl's flesh. Yes. And that's when the effects they were still kind of cheesy, but they still had more charm to it. And it looked to me like like how friends who have no budget would make a horror film look. Right. And they would have a good time.
Yeah, I wasn't super impressed with the discovery scene. I was a little disappointed with it. But it was weird. I think the reason I was disappointed with it was, and I think what you're putting your finger on here is the designs of the zombies. It was better when they were in shadows, or in a dark setting, and when it was in that full on, we're just going to show you what's happening setting.
Then it got kind of weird.
It was it wasn't like all that tremendous, and honestly, the movie didn't solve the problem that all the slow moving zombie movies have to solve, which is. These guys would never catch you ever. Yeah, you'd literally just walk around them because they move so slow. And to solve that, this film decided to make everyone paralyzed with fear and not move when the zombies were coming towards them. Which was that happened in the scene. they discover the thing, and the zombies start heading towards him. And it's literally like the girl that the zombies was waiting to high five him or something. Like not moving at all. Like there's a fucking bloody zombie heading towards you. It's horrible that you're just standing there.
Yeah, that was my only gripe. And I as you were saying it, like I tried to imagine, like, okay, if I opened up my door right here, there was someone like the kid walking towards me. Like I would be weirded out. I'm guessing for like 30 seconds, trying to be like, "What the fuck is that?" But now I would just go out that window right there. Like, I get the fuck out, grab the cats, tell Alex we gotta go, and beat it.
Right. Well, you can be horrified, and it's this. This is a really funny discussion we're having because I'm gonna contradict myself a little bit in wrong turn, I think. But it's a combination of that bothering me, plus the effects not being great. Plus the fact that the movie's about to go into overdrive and be legendary right after this moment.
Yes, and that's where my notes are. Like it's just I love next note, I love next note, I love.
Totally.
Because then it goes and I wish the cinematography was just like a dash more. Well, you know what? There actually is some pretty cool shots. So now we get to like I think the first shot after that is there's like a zombie hand. I said zombie hands coming out of the grave is always a cool fucking shot. Yep. You can there's no way to shoot that to make it lame. Like it always looks fucking cool. Yep. And then I said I put Italian Jerry curls freaking out of the zombies. It looks ridiculous because she just
that's true.
So that's where this is where the film gets really cool and the cinematography does get a little more creative. I love the POV of zombies coming out of the grave.
Yep,
that shot is fucking dope. Yep. I anytime they show that I like. But so we get to the cool part. So take it away because you mentioned this part quite a bit.
Well, it was here that the zombie design was magnificent.
Yeah, and
it was here that you really, this movie really did give you like the true damage that laying in the ground for hundreds of years is going to do to you, right?
Yeah.
And didn't really glamorize or glorify it. I just saw the last Game of Thrones, and it's what this movie got right is exactly what's wrong with most of the undead whites or whatever they are in Game of Thrones is they're too stylized. It's too polished, right? There's the scene in Game of Thrones where someone throws a rock at the zombie and it knocks his jaw off, and his jaw just falls on the ground, and he's just standing there with no jaw. But it's too crisp. It's too clean. It's too like, I mean, this was like really revolting.
Yeah.
With the maggots and the thing and the way they moved. And then, in a lot of zombie movies, you're thinking to yourself, why do they move so slow? But the explanation in this one is they just had a bad 200 years. Mm-hmm. Like I move slow after I have a bad workout.
Yeah.
Like they're moving slow because they're fucked up, like truly fucked up. So it was the way it was shot. It was the way they separated the two couples off so they could attack them separately.
Yeah.
The way the movie did it, right? And then the way that in the background you would see zombies rising up. They looked weirdly like sprouting plants.
Yeah.
Like the way they were rising up out of the ground wasn't the sit up like Dracula does in the coffin move.
Yeah.
It was more organic. They were just kind of like rising. It was really cool, really creepy, and the whole background of it with the conquistadors. And not to get too deep about like whatever, but I mean, it was fucking evil what they did, right? And they're back.
Yeah,
like this is like the Nazis are back. This is like and just combine all that into this scene. It was really, really effective.
I loved that scene. Like it sort of reminded me of like my favorite scene from Silver Bullet during the werewolf nightmare. Mm-hmm. How it just whenever I think of scenes like that, it always reminds me of like the cover of like a Tales from the Crypt comic. Like it just has that like pure fucking like horror feeling to it that I loved. And I loved the POV, especially how the dirt was falling off the lens. The only thing I thought was ugly about that scene was they did like 2 close-ups, maybe 3, I think it was 2 close-ups of zombies' faces when they got out, and it just looked so stupid the way they shot it. Like I guess it was like a lens thing or something, but it was just the angle they looked at. It looked like a scene. Like I don't know if someone did if someone was trying to make you look ugly on a camera, like that's what they did. It just looked. It didn't look cool, but all the other shots were great, and I loved when, I think it was after the couples took off, there was one zombie in the background who was like pretty much fully raised, and then there was a guy a little bit closer who was halfway out of the ground, and then right in front of the camera you just see someone else starting to pop up, and I was like, oh,
I can see it in my head.
Shit.
It was you and I were seeing the same. That was my favorite shot of that.
I loved that fucking
So
scene.
good.
Like that was like perfect textbook, like the zombies are coming out of the grave to fuck your shit up shot. And I think right after that they had a shot let's see. Oh, when all the zombies, what was it? Like a church they were at the last scene?
Yeah, I think,
And-
or the hospital. I can't remember.
I couldn't remember what it was. I thought I saw
Or
crosses,
if they're connected, yeah.
or something. But there was a scene when when it showed all the zombies walking towards
Yes.
that last building.
Yes.
Like if we ever do another, like, you know, you can take a frame from a horror film and put it on your wall. Like that would be one, because it just looked.
It was great.
Fucking cool. Like,
And it was cool because this is one of the services that horror movies provide is the know-it-alls, the skeptics. They're always wrong.
Yeah.
Like there always is the thing.
Yeah.
Right. There's always the alien's always in the ship. You know, like, and the doctor has been refusing to believe any of this could be a possibility. As a matter of fact, even while they're being attacked by the zombies, he's still explaining why this can't be, or it's wrong. Like he's giving the medical explanation for, well, the zombies are like banging on the door, because he's so into his like head, right? But,
yeah.
But it's super cool because not only are you seeing zombies converge on where they're holed up, and you know you're about to get another great scene, but you know that the guy who's been pissing you off because he should know better is about to really know that he was wrong.
yeah.
Which is a great, you know. And then they attack, and that's
And the brain smashing with the zombies looked really cool too. It still had that cheese look, but I thought it was really effective. And then the other thing, story wise, I didn't like. I said in every zombie film, someone's love interest gets bit and then sees their loved one as a zombie.
Yes.
That happens in every zombie film, and
Yes.
it's just sort of like, oh, fucking murder me. Like he's gonna get bit because he
Right.
can't shoot her or some shit like that.
Well, in his defense, you know, the reason you hate that is you've seen 35 zombie movies do it after he made this one.
yeah.
but,
Yeah,
but right.
So, but yeah, if I had seen that first, maybe I would have been like, "Oh no, what a terror!"
Right.
And then after that, it just the last shot ends pretty cool with the zombies on the whatever Brooklyn Bridge. I don't know what fucking bridge it is.
Yeah, that was a really cool shot. That reminded me of Wolfen, like that.
Yeah.
You know. And the attack scene where they're trying to hopelessly hold off the zombies, they actually do a really good job of like setting them on fire and fighting back. Like they turn out to be sort of effective at fighting after they, you know, get snuck up on by slow moving zombies. Like they rally and they fight back. But I thought the whole burning building collapse like scene, and then the way it outroed onto the city, and the after image in your eye is like they just tore down the wooden version of civilization, and now they're coming for the steel one.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And I just thought it was such a cool way to do it, and the fact that they were kind of just advancing on the bridge when the cars below were just going about their day, like had no idea what the shit that was about to come. Just a great way to. I just thought it was
such a good fucking way to end it.
Yeah,
I loved it. Okay,
ratings.
So it's 42%.
Yes.
I mean, the scenes that are not good are really not good, and I think that's
Yes.
pretty damaging towards my personal score.
Yep.
But I mean, it has like two of like the best scenes in horror films of all time, which for me puts it at like, I don't know, 80.
Yeah.
80%.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I honestly feel like, and it's weird. I'm actually glad we're doubling up episodes again, because I thought from my memory of watching these two movies a long time ago that Wrong Turn was better than this. And after rewatching, I'm sure that Zombie 2 is better than Wrong Turn. And I can't put my finger on exactly why. The scenes is a great argument. You're right about that. We know that I love the music that I paid attention to. But I also think that I give a fuck about the way critics do the rating system is so cowardly to me because I don't feel like they gibber on about execution, which is important, but there's not a lot of talk about ambition or what the movie was trying to do.
Yeah.
This movie just is inherently more interesting than most movies I see that are rated 70-something% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
It may not be better executed. It may have more flaws. It may whatever. It's just more interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just on the interesting rating. I'm gonna give it 80%.
Yeah.
Just because it's just inherently a more interesting movie. And that's the thing is it's not that it was trying to be deep or interesting or whatever. It was just the way they shot it, the way the Fulci really stuck to his craftsman ethos of I'm going to do this as right as I can, but I'm never gonna I know that I'm making a horror movie and I'm gonna give you scares that like think about all the advances that have been made in special effects from whenever this movie was released to now. Mm-hmm. And
I think 79.
Nobody, almost nobody who's working now would do that eyeball scene better than this.
Yeah.
With 1,000 times more powerful technology.
Yeah.
Right? So just for that.
Because he was a craftsman.
Yeah. So I'm going 80%.
I think 80% works right. You know, it's funny, just to let the viewers know, before we recorded this, you and I were both talking about Zombie, and we were like, we should double up, because we're only going to talk about Zombie 2 for like 10 minutes. It was a 40-minute.
Yeah.
We're going into it. So now, moving on to a film that I actually really, really enjoyed back when I first saw it, would be 2003's Wrong Turn.
Yep, I enjoyed it too.
I still enjoyed it. And what's funny is before recording, I never knew this because I enjoyed it. So I first watched it, like my dad had gotten some kind of like surgery, and like he was, on a recliner, just like kind of stuck, and so we watched movies with him. And I remember Wrong Turn being one of the films that we watched with him, and just being like, I fucking loved it. Like it scared the shit out of me and all this other stuff. And I didn't know this until today, before rewatching it for the show, that you were like, my argument for this film is Stan Winston, and I was like, what? Stan Winston did this? Because I'm a fanboy of Stan Winston. I had no fucking clue his company did this, or that he was even a goddamn producer of the film, which automatically bumps that up to, like, that alone
right?
is at least at 30%.
Episode over.
Yeah, he holds 30% of a rating just no matter where he goes. Yeah. So where do you want us to just want to pick it up from the beginning here? Because I think that part is kind of...
Yeah, so I think the thing with Wrong Turn is it's going to suffer a little bit from being in a double episode, because if we were doing a standalone episode on it and not comparing it to Zombie 2, I by the time the episode was over, you would be like, wow, George is a really big fan of this movie. Because I really do like it. I like the movie a lot. It's just has sort of a bland flavor after that. But
what's funny? We were talking about Domino's Pizza. Oh, you know what? No. We were comparing this. We were comparing this to other restaurants.
Yeah. I want to do this for the rest of the How Low Can We Go series, is compare the movies. We not just give our rating, but I also want to compare it to restaurants. Okay. So like, go ahead.
So what did we say Zombie 2 was? Or what was the...
I don't know.
We mentioned some other films.
Like Silence of the Lambs would be like something fan, like Hyde Park Grill or something like whatever. And then
it would be...
And then Wrong Turn would be like...
Well, we mentioned Dracula 2, because we got to go to the opposite end here.
Because that's a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. So Dracula 2 is like White Castle.
Right. And then we said
for me, Wrong Turn is Panera. Right?
Panera Bread.
Yeah, because I can eat a Panera, and when I do, I'm fine with it, and it's reliable and like whatever. But I'm not excited about like whatever. And that might be a little bit unfair to Wrong Turn, because I think there are some good things that happen in there, but it's really formulaic, and I think it pulled its punches in a lot of places where it didn't have to, at least in terms of the way it plays out. But one of the arguments I have when I'm thinking about how movies are rated or judged or whatever is the watchability factor. Mm-hmm. This movie is so fucking watchable.
Yeah.
It's like a magic trick. I mean, I probably have watched it 5 times.
Yeah.
And it's just because when it comes out, like I know that I'm going to enjoy watching it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not that I think it's the greatest thing that's ever been made or whatever, but like, it's just really, really watchable. I don't know how to explain it.
Like the pacing's not bad at all. The pacing's just fine. Nothing's too slow. Nothing's too fast. I liked all of the cast. The comic relief guy was great.
Yep.
The stoner couple, who was the worst part, like they get axed pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it's not even an issue.
Jeremy Sisto is the poor man's Jeff Goldblum. Like he is doing a full-on Jeff Goldblum impression this whole movie, or Jeff Goldblum's doing a Jeremy Sisto impression, and he owes him $1 million.
That was the comic relief guy.
Yeah, because I mean, he's walking after the car crash scene, and they're walking. He's like pitching out all these weirdo hypotheticals, just the way like Jeff Goldblum would in Jurassic Park. Like in Jurassic Park when he's like, "Let me put some water on your hand, and we'll see which way it rolls down."
Yeah.
And in this movie, Jeremy Sisto's walking down the path, and he has all these weird hypothetical situations about like whatever. And it's just, I mean, when you rewatch it, just try not to picture Jeff Goldblum after hearing this, because it's impossible. I'm telling you.
It's not gonna be easy. But
it starts good.
It starts good with the rock climbing.
With the rock climbing
people, I really like the idea of her, how she keeps saying, "Hey, pull me up."
Yep. And then they do.
Husband dies, she gets pulled up. She's like, "Shit!" No shit, and then she cuts herself. I really like that.
I don't like in horror movies where someone just gets pulled off frame and that's it. So I mean, that's how she goes. She just gets pulled away. I think that's overdone, but I liked starting with that. One of the things that I really like about this movie is the isolation of it. Isolation movies usually feel claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods feels, first of all, Cabin in the Woods feels like it's on a soundstage to me, but it also feels like you're just really closed in with the woods looming over you and like whatever. This is a pretty wide open movie. There's a lot of shots where they're above everything and looking over miles of
And again, like we
things.
mentioned with Zombie 2 and how people say Texas Chainsaw, a lot of it, I mean, there's a good little chunk of it during the nighttime.
A lot of it's daytime.
But a lot of it's daytime.
Yeah, totally. Which is really cool. So it puts characters in an isolated situation, but it doesn't make it claustrophobic. There's a lot of times where they're standing in wide open spaces, like in the scene where they're at the car graveyard, or in the scene when they climb up to the watchtower. And you're just treated to these really awesome shots of just like acres of land, but you're also in this horrible situation where if you're empathizing with the characters, like it's actually one of my favorite lines in the movie. They get up there and they get up on the watchtower, and Eliza looks out over the whole expanse, and the other character is looking for them, the people who are hunting them coming after them. And she's not looking for that. She's looking for something else. And she turns to him and goes, "I don't see a town or a road anywhere."
Yeah.
So I think it's cool that it's kind of built that way.
Yeah, it had like that, like shitty kind of like 2000s jump scares that a lot of the films during that time did. But again, comparing it to Zombie 2, I liked how gross and dirty that boat was. I liked the little shack the three inbred dudes stayed in.
Dude.
Everything was so
How
gross.
is that not a Halloween haunt? That shack is so scary.
The fucking like the teeth or the dentures or whatever in the jar in the bathroom.
And all the characters are finding different pieces of the puzzle of what these people are up to, which is fucking cool. Like that whole part is cool.
I liked the whole setup, and that was the first thing that made me think of like, oh shit, I forgot this is all going place in the daylight. Like they're completely fine. Like it could be in this, right now, but in a shack somewhere getting shit. I don't know what I'm getting at with that, but I fucking
no.
liked
The setup is cool, and I also like I got a little taken out of the movie by. Tell me if this crossed your mind when you're watching, because the main male character. He smashes into their car on the road going like 120 miles an hour, and he's fine. Yeah. He gets out of the car, no airbag deployed. He's fine. As a matter of fact, fucking Eliza Dushku, like he's like the accident happened like 90 seconds ago, and she's like, "What's your name?" He's like, "My name's Chris," whatever. And she goes, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." She's like, "That's okay. That's good because you're carrying everything." She throws a fucking backpack at him. This dude just hit a car going like.
That's why I like the comic relief guy, because he was like, he's probably shocked. Like,
but there's no way he's fine. No. Absolutely zero way he's fine.
The other thing was he's like, I came around the bend, I didn't see it, and I looked real careful. I was like, is there a bend? There's a little bend, but I was like, for the most part, he was driving pretty straight. And I was
it wasn't a bend. He was looking at his fucking rearview mirror at roadkill for like.
But like if it was a straight fucking road, like you saw those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
My way. So like that was my biggest gripe was just the
that was staged pretty badly. That was And did you notice, or is it just that I forgot how early 2000s were, that the banter between the couples was really weird?
Yeah.
They had really weird relationships.
It was really.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, it was just the dialogue between them, like the banter was pretty garbage.
It was, but it wasn't as garbage. It was strange. I was like, they were saying shit to each other that like was just this weird like. I feel like Jeremy Sisto was sort of like his girlfriend's like sex slave or something. Like, there was this weird shit going on.
But their whole thing was they just got engaged. Like, like okay, you get engaged and all you do for the week following that is just fuck like animals the whole time. Even when you're taking your friend on a trip, you're like, sorry, I can't. It's 3:00. We gotta fuck again. We just got engaged last week.
It was the dialogue between any of the couples except for. Jesse and Chris,
the other guy,
was really strange. But I got to admit, one of my favorite things in this movie is how the one girlfriend, the stoner girlfriend, is so out for herself. So like everyone leaves them. They're just sitting there getting high, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone else is gone to go get help. They're just hanging out with the crashed cars, and she's rooting around in Chris's car, and he's at the other car looking for. And this is one of the things this movie really was contrasting the people who lived in this area and how rough they were with like these snowflakes, because he's rooting around the car for sunscreen. Like he's like, I mean, you're in the middle of fucking nowhere, crashed cars, and he's like trying to find bug spray and like whatever. And she's in the other car, and she's like chowing down on power bars. And he's like, hey, did you find anything to eat over there? We haven't got no food. She's like, no. Nope, didn't find anything.
No cigarettes either. And then she puts a cigarette in her mouth.
She was so out for herself. It was like glorious.
So like all that stuff was great. The setting up like how isolated they were, I thought was pretty well done. And then it goes right to the cabin scene. And I like we said before, I like how dirty, I like how gross it was. And I'm a sucker for any scene where like the characters are like hiding in the room where the monsters are.
Yep.
And I thought that scene was pretty well done, especially when they put the stoner chick. I like how she got killed, the fucking like razor wire.
Yeah, that was tough.
That was pretty cool. I liked that. But I always like those like horror movies do that a lot, and I'm a sucker for those kind of scenes anytime where like the blood's dripping towards them and they just like put their hand over their mouth.
Yeah, this you're absolutely right. This is one of the strengths of this movie. Was in most movies when I'm watching it, I know in my heart that if I was hiding under a bed in a monster's cabin and they were chopping up my friend or doing like whatever, like I wouldn't make a sound. Like I'm not even tempted to make a sound.
Yeah.
Unless something moved towards me. Like whatever I was seeing wouldn't be bothering me that much because you're just focused on surviving.
Yeah.
That's what you think. But this movie is like, nope, that's not how that goes. Because if you're laying under there and someone just drops a dead body in front of you and the blood oozes towards you and it there's like the chopping sounds and like whatever.
That was my other note.
It was rough, and it was really breaking down the other character. I forget her name, not Eliza Dushku, but the other.
This like the sporty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Her character psychologically broke after that scene. She was never the same. She had no fight in her.
She was for just being like one of like the supporting cast. She did a pretty good job. I had another note about her later on in the film.
She did, and it was really cool how like later on they're trying to run away and. She's like, you didn't see what I saw. You didn't see what I saw. We're all gonna die. Like she was just psychologically shattered.
Yeah.
And the fact that the movie, even though it was a formula movie, was smart enough to like do a character arc that made things more terrifying because you were watching it really break people psychologically. I thought was awesome.
And that was
because that's like a Silence of the Lambs.
And there were some cool shots. There were some cool shots in there too. Like it cuts from them hiding underneath the table or bed or whatever. Then it follows. I think it was. I wrote down the villains' names. I think it was. Fuck, where is it? Their names were One Eye, Three Finger, and Sawtooth. I think they were following One Eye because it was like the big guy.
Yep.
I like how it tracked him and then went. It had that cool shot where it went to like the keyhole.
Yep.
And then that's when she saw them hacking her friend.
Yep.
I really liked that shot.
And you saw what was happening to her friend in her eye.
Yeah.
That was a great shot.
So I really like that. The only thing that threw me off after that, and I blamed Disney's Cars, is that the truck they were driving around looked like
Mater.
yeah. I was just waiting for him to go, hi there, hey there.
That is totally
We'll
true.
get you ready for the race.
That's totally true.
So that
And not to be too nitpicky, but like they sneak out of the cabin when everyone is sleeping. The monsters are sleeping.
Yeah.
And do you have to have the obligatory moment where for some reason it's always the girl trips over something and makes a noise. But I was watching this, like I had the sound turned up, whatever. She hit that bucket and I thought my fire alarm went off. It was so fucking loud and nobody woke up. I was like, why did you Foley that way? Why is that like it's on 11? Like just have her knock over something a little quiet. Like it's totally
anything.
There's no way they didn't wake up
Tin
for that.
cans.
Like I went deaf for a moment. It was like, but then they escaped.
Yeah, they escaped, and I really liked just to touch on the design of the monsters, because this is when you actually get to see them.
Yeah.
Because it was Stan Winston Studios who did the design,
Yep.
and they always just do a fucking great job.
It's amazing.
Because it cuts. They have the runaway thing, and I
They're
like
not to interrupt, but they're why this turned into a franchise.
Yeah.
That the design is so good, this had to become a franchise.
Yeah, because it was super well done, and what I liked about the designs were, at first glance, which is I think a testament to great design, is first glance you know exactly what their character trait is and where they are in the hierarchy of the group. You knew that I think it was One Eye, he was the leader, the guy with the bow. He was the fucking head honcho, and the guy after that was second in command, and then I think Three Finger was like the crazy yelling one
with the laugh.
Yeah. And how great was that laugh?
It was great.
It always made me feel unsettled, especially
Yep.
the first time I remember watching it way back in the day.
Yeah, the movie literally ends on it. They knew it was good.
They knew that laugh was what was going to sell, because it was fucking great.
Yep.
So then after that they all run away. I just love the character design. It was
I love the character design too, but I actually really, really liked. They get trapped at the car graveyard.
Yeah.
And they try to take the monster's mater,
Mm-hmm.
and they distract them and try to run away, which was a ridiculous plan because the guy gets shot like 3 feet after he starts running, which makes no sense. But then I really like they get in the truck, they get away, but they've lost Jeremy Sisto. They try to hook up with him, and the scene where he gets taken out was really good.
Yeah.
Because you knew what was happening to him, but they did not know what was happening to him. So he's running towards them, but he looks like he's walking weird and going slow because he's getting shot in the back over and over with arrows. But they're seeing him from the front, and they don't know what's happening to him. And it was almost painful. Like I felt like the movie almost did too good a job of it because his engaged wife, fiance, her reaction was so heartbreaking. I was like, I don't want this much emotion in this kind of movie. Like now I feel so bad for you.
That was actually one of the things, because the movie's, it is a monster movie to me. Like they're the main characters of the show. But for a horror film, whenever someone's loved one dies, it's usually they die, they have a quick second of like grief, and then they move on. But
think about like Terminator 3. If you've seen Terminator 3,
no,
there's there's a scene where the Terminator looks like the person's loved one, Claire Danes' loved one, and then she finds out that it's not. It's actually a Terminator in disguise, and then Arnold turns over to like, that means your loved one's dead. She's like, no, and then nothing. Who cares? Like 10 seconds later, nobody cares. Right?
Yeah,
not this movie. This movie was like, stop crying, Jesus Christ! Now I feel so bad for you. Like I'm not enjoying.
But
this.
it was just great. Like they actually made a character really fucking sad. That's like her fiance just got shot in the fucking belly with a bow and arrow.
Yep.
And I'm just glad that they at least had.
No, it was good.
They did that. I really liked that. And then
and I gotta say real quick, just I know like horror movies give you these fake out moments. When they were getting away in the truck, the way it was shot, I knew they weren't going to get away.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's only halfway through the movie, right? But the way it was shot, it felt like they were going to get away. Mm-hmm. And it was good that they did it. They filmed this in a way where even though you knew it wasn't, they were like, no, we're really going to make it look like they're going to get away. Because it looked like they were just going to drive out.
Yeah.
Right? That was it. In Mater, but go ahead.
No, but I liked the scenes after that, because they go to the watchtower, they radio the guy.
Great scene.
And I like the nighttime scene after that when the one girl gets her head chopped. I really liked how the top part of her fucking.
That was an amazing shot, dude. That was there was the treetop battle.
Yeah.
After they jumped.
That
off
scene
the
was pretty
watchtower.
good. That scene used to.
That
freak
scene
me
was
out.
great, and they're starting to fight back now.
Yeah.
Like the city kids are starting to like discover their inner warrior, right? So they're starting to fight back and use tree branches to cause problems for the monsters and like whatever. But that poor girl, she was spiritually broken, so she was not even like she could not get away. She was like second guessing whether she could even walk on the branches, And when they chopped her, I didn't notice this the first time I watched it. When they chopped her, she's beheaded.
Yeah.
Her body falls. And there's a POV down shot of the body tumbling, but you're still looking at the head on the tree. And it's like literally they show the light go out in her eyes. Like you just see her go from alive to dead. Mm-hmm. It was super effective. Fucking Stan Winston.
That was a good. That was a good movie death. I really like that. And then them smacking Three Finger with the branch.
Yep, that was good
at the end. Or not the end, but for that
right.
for that scene, it just felt powerful too.
That did.
I didn't like the whole. He had some kind of line to get his attention to smack him. I don't know if I.
Yeah, well, there was way too much of that of them running around going, "Hey, look at me!
Yeah,
chase me," which was fucking dumb. But even worse, the worst crime. And I know, horror movies have to do this, but. I mean, why were these people indestructible?
Yeah.
Three Finger fell a mile from the sky
and got smacked with a big fucking branch.
Yeah, it's the same fucking shit that bothers me when I'm watching a movie like Don't Breathe or something like people sustain so much physical damage, but then when the plot needs them to be fine, they're just fine. Like I don't.
Yeah, that kind of bugged me a little.
I don't. They were. It's not like they were. The movie didn't really give a backstory. It probably comes later in the franchise.
There's a little bit of it, like in the opening credits. Like it just says like inbred, blah blah blah.
Yeah, but inbred makes you look weird. It doesn't make you superhuman.
Yeah, that was the part I didn't.
Maybe it's the fact that they eat people. Maybe that's okay.
You never know. And I said, love the top. The death of her getting it, and then after that, the Firewatch guy shows up, which goes back, which then takes us back into the daylight, which we get more daylight.
Yeah, and he gets Halloran into like 2 seconds,
just fucking through the fucking eye. It was good.
That was good.
It was super predictable, but I liked it.
It was super predictable. It was even so predictable, like they laid up the line. He was like. Chris was like, "There's dead people," and the cop's like, "What dead people?"
Right. And I liked that.
Yeah, it was fine.
And then we kind of just jump straight to the ending, kind of.
Yeah, and then he pulls a Cape Fear move and gets under the car and takes the car. Chris, is under the car when they drive back to the cabin, so he hitches a ride to go save Jesse, right? And then when they get to the cabin, I actually liked his plan. Because his plan was to set the front door on fire and then run the truck through the front door at the guy.
Yeah.
But this is where it got really, really good in terms of monster movie because One Eye was awesome in this whole sequence. Like he was literally the definition of zero fucks. Like he didn't care if you hit him or burned him or like he just looked really intimidating and lethal and that was a really good moment. But my favorite moment of the whole movie and. It's funny because I've read a lot of criticism about, I'm probably not saying her name right, Eliza Dushku's acting ability, whatever, but I felt like after all this torment they went through and losing all their friends and all this shit, the scene where at the end where Chris is holding One Eye and she picks up the axe and just goes full Valkyrie on him.
Yeah.
She just like screams and runs across the room and buries it in his shoulder. Like she really sold that. I mean, you at that moment, they had gone through all this shit and they keep killing these people and they keep getting back up. And they had just had it. They were just gonna like take these people out. And then they get the zombie moment when they back out of the cabin and the cabin's on fire and then everyone starts to get up again. And they're just like, kill these people. But one of the things that I thought was really, really cool about this movie that I don't know is intentional is there's this, God, I hope this character's name is Chris because I keep calling him that the whole episode. But the main character, there's these subtle ways that they were bashing him the whole movie. They were telling him his movie was crap. His music was crap. But my favorite moment was when he was stuck in the traffic jam towards the beginning of the movie. And he gets out of his car.
The trucker.
And he goes up to the trucker and he's like, how long do you think he's going to go? The trucker's like, a couple hours. And he's like, I got to be wherever I got to go. Like, and the trucker's like, here's what you do. Go back and get in your car and then fix your hair another couple hundred times. like totally insulting. Like, right. So these characters, they get roughed up more and more and more. And the last time that you see Chris, they pull up to the gas station. The one-tooth guy who runs it is terrified. He's hiding inside.
Yeah, he sees Mater.
Because he sees, the truck's coming. And Chris gets out of the car and he is like stumping like fucking Captain Ahab. And he is just like beaten up, roughed up. Like, this movie was telling you, like, all this kid cares about is how his hair looks. And he looks like dog shit here at the end. And then they do this. He showed up in this incredibly cool car. Mm-hmm. And then they drive off in Mater. And there's this overhead shot of, like, them going down the road. And the movie was, like, had this weird subtext of these kids really needed to get roughed up and shown what, like, real life was or something, like, because he shows up in one ride, he leaves in another one. It was a weird, like,
I'll
vibe.
tag along on that because the whole reason they were even there is because Eliza,
Jesse,
because her boyfriend broke up with her.
Right.
That was the whole reason why they were there.
Totally.
And so, just to piggyback off what you said, it's like, listen, there's a lot worse shit that can happen than your boo leaving you. Right?
Right, totally.
And so next time her boyfriend breaks up with her, she's like, you know what? We don't need to go to the mountains. We just gotta we'll just order Postmates.
And one of the reasons, the only reason actually that Chris was even involved in this was because he hit their car, that their car got Hills Have Eyes, right?
I wanted to bring that up.
Right. They threw out the barbed wire and the barbed wire was off the road. Like, he hit their car. If he hadn't hit their car, if he had just kept going, then he would be, well, maybe not fine. I don't know. He could have gotten lost, but he wouldn't have been stopped there with them. Right. So, the reason this happened to him was he was in a hurry. Well, he's not in a hurry now. He's in the slowest fucking tow truck known to man. He can walk like on like half a leg. Like,
he's got a bullet in his cap.
Totally. Like, everything that was a character trait on the way in for this guy has been changed on the way out. Which it was weird. I don't know if it was on purpose, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I now that I'm thinking about it more, I still really enjoyed the film. I think the one big criticism for me, it's actually a criticism for almost every film in that 1999 to like 2008 is just shitty fucking rock music. And I like a whole lot of like metal and shit
the music
like that,
in this
but
movie is terrible. This, you and I can
I think Alex Taylor called it once mall rock.
It
was just even like the score, like, not to show on the composer, but like it kind of had that like fake synthy, like,
no, it didn't work.
I didn't like it. It didn't work for me.
Didn't work at all. But my major complaint about the movie is that it played it way too safe in terms of not just predictability, but when you've got Stan Winston designing these things
and producing.
Yeah, and producing, like, that's the thing, is not to do this too much, but that the eyeball scene or the conquistador scene in Zombie 2 has so much less going for it in terms of resources than this movie did. This movie has so much more going for it, and they could have roughed it up a little. They could have made it a little less slick or by the numbers. Yeah, but they didn't. Like, so that's, to me, was the one drawback. So ratings, right? Are we ready?
I always mention them. I almost want to see if Good Bad Flicks today, because I almost guarantee the reason the film went some of the way it was, it had to have been studio.
Feels like it, right?
Had to have been studio reference. Ratings. So, funny enough,
this one's 41.
This one's 41. I like Stan Winston a lot, so he's if you just handed me a slip of paper that said Stan Winston, I'd be like, that's 30% right there. That's easy. I don't know. I'd give this one. I don't think it's rotten because it is like a solid movie as itself. There's a few weak points. There's not as many weak points as there's in Zombie, actually. But given that 2000s feel that doesn't have the charm of Zombie, I'd go with like 70, 69, like just right at the fucking right above rotten,
right at the
kind
line.
of thing. If you could change out some of the music and some of the dialogue was a little weird, I feel like it'd be a way better film.
Yeah.
It's somewhere. It spawned like fucking. I haven't seen anything past the first one, which baffles my fucking mind.
7 of them now.
Yeah. So the fact that it had to have been good enough.
I saw Wrong Turn too. I actually really enjoyed that one. I think that's the one with Henry Rollins. Yeah, I'm solid 65 on this one.
Oh, you're rotten. That's their first rotten.
No. 59's rotten.
Oh, 59's rotten?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot the ratings. Yeah, then 65.
Oh
yeah, 65. Easy.
Yeah.
Quick question though.
Yes.
The three monsters from this film,
Yes.
the Conor McGregor fight of horror films.
Yes.
Those guys or Hills Have Eyes monsters? Who takes it?
I like these guys better.
I do too.
To be honest with you, I like Hills Have Eyes better as a movie, but I like these guys better. I like their design. I liked the way they hunted better, and I liked, they just seemed the other ones are on a creepier mission that's more sadistic.
Yeah.
These ones are just hungry.
Yeah,
maybe
it's just a survival mode type thing.
Whatever. So, and I just think the design is better.
Easy. Well, there we go. There it is. 42 and 41%. Double whammy. Creature feature. That was a double.
That was a creature feature.
Creature double feature.
Yep.
Right there for you. So put those two suckers together.
Yep.
So if you like more content like this, head over to our Patreon page. Join the Facebook group. Join the private group. We got lots of great conversation on there.
That's a fun group.
And until next time. Well, we're only now I think 70 something days away from Halloween. So the big fucking deals come up here real soon. So that means you definitely got to stay scary. Start planning out your Halloween decorations.
For sure, it's coming.
Easy. All right. Until next time, stay scary.
Bye, guys.
Bye.